Coaches, welcome. Happy Friday morning. I know that you guys been going through a little bit of Tatum Gibbs spring series withdrawal. Coach and I, we're going to finish up on episode 8. This has been a really good thing. I hope. I know Coach Eason has been a frequent commenter. I think Coach Mike Hall hit us up on YouTube the other day about 2 tight end stuff. So, Coach, we're gonna try to give you as much as we can, but this has been great. Obviously this is something Coach and I are part of the Coach Speak Pod Network now, and that the launch that just came out yesterday, and or 2 days ago.
2 days ago, yep.
Yeah, 2 days ago. So we're happy to be part of that, and it was negotiated over Coach's dad's barbecue sauce at the clinic, and it was very easy to say yes to because the food was tremendous. I hope all you guys that are listening to this and watching this will get there to North Carolina next year, because Coach did a heck of a job with the clinic. So, all right, Coach. So we're going to talk about 12 personnel, like straight 12P. And before we get into the diagram, what are some of the things that I know for us defensively, it gives us a lot of problems because it's a balanced set, and we kind of have to declare certain things that we're not going to pressure. But what are some of the things that you guys, in your play call, what do you like to do?
Yeah, so anytime you can go extra gaps, right? It's a good thing. And for us, we might have a tight end, right? And then that second tight end he's more of just a 6th O lineman, or sometimes for a lot of programs, just a 7-0 lineman look, for a lot of guys. But it's just adding up more gaps and kind of, like you said, getting defenses to kind of declare, how do they want to play the edges, how they want their DNs to play, they're going to play with the tight end or inside the tight end or anything like that. So kind of getting them to declare those things, and then you can kind of run either way. And then, even in the passing game, if you have some guys that can kind of stretch it, or even just they're good, sure-handed guys, box out guys, you can kind of play with that, get some, some easy layup throws for your quarterback.
Yeah, like I said, it always, in a lot of the stuff that we talk about, like this is something that I always felt coaches like, if they're going to be pulling on the system, or they're going to take bits and pieces. I'm like, I go back to Notre Dame, Iowa State. They played at a bowl game down here in Orlando. And Brian Kelly was the coach, at Notre Dame at the time. And Iowa State was giving it to him pretty good in the first half. And then second half, Notre Dame came out 12P and ran inside zone, to death. And that, to me, in the 3 safety world, you really have to figure out a way to combat that, whether it's the balance set or it's tight end wing, 2 receivers, or, unbalanced. You have to have some kind of adjustment or answer for it. So, from our perspective as a defense, you definitely have to have, multiple answers, because, again, I think what presents a bigger problem for us is like you go 12P quarterback run game.
Yeah.
That to me is like, that could be a killer for us on the defensive side of the ball. So, Coach, you want to pull the screen up? We'll talk some ball.
Sure. All right. Yeah. So just have this double tight end look. And let me go ahead and pull that full screen. Cool. So this is just kind of the diagram that you had from last time. We can edit this out if you want, how you want to align to it.
So you want to we'll take the nose, put them at a 0. The ends will be 2 4 eyes. The jack and the viper will be the 2 overhangs. Head up on the H and the Y. And then what we'll do is we'll basically take the strong safety and free safety, put them at about 8 off. Yep, free safety there, strong safety other side. And then we'll play that inverted half look. Yep, Michael stack on the nose. Yep, and then that rover will stack on the mic. If you want to take the free safety, coach, and the strong safety and kind of almost put them on the outside edge of the jack and the viper, move them up just a touch. Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, so basically, our thought process going into it, and again, this is like without seeing film, but like you said, for us, it's um, you know, who's your best guy out of that Y and that A slip, right? Who's the guy that's like the threat, or someone that is like, the predominantly, run blocking tight end, or the guy that you want to go with the most. So that to me is where we'll put the stronger of the two. Generally, our jack linebacker would go up on that guy. The Viper would go on more of the second tight end guy. For us coverage wise, we can play, really for us, it's like two, because again, it presents a problem with the balancing up, right? So for us, it's inverted halves. So, taking that free and strong and dropping them down in the slant window, those two corners push into the halves, and then that rover becoming that, robber where the Mike's going to have to, take the A gap because we'll slant the nose either, right or to the left. He has to take that A gap. And then having that rover being that like cleanup guy, for us. So that's kind of like for my thought process that we think is anytime we see 12P down here, there's been a running quarterback threat. So that for my thought process is like, all right, let me take my best player and say, okay, you have the quarterback wherever he goes. He wants to sprint out. He wants to run quarterback duo. He wants to run option, zone read, quarterback power, whatever. Like you're following that guy. He goes to the bathroom. You're going with him. So that's kind of like our thought process, and again, from a preliminary perspective, without kind of getting into our pressure stuff. But that's kind of my thought process against all personnel. That's a real problem for us.
Yeah. In contrast to that, as a gap scheming guy, these alignments really hurt the pool game. Anytime obviously you have a nose, right? You want to keep a guard, so you're not apt to kind of pull a play side guy like a buck or a pin and pull. And even with these 4 eyes, it's tough. When pulling a backside guard, if your tackle maybe can't put off a 4-eye. If you can, cool, you should run whatever. But I kind of go back to a lot of people talk about the fold scheme by the tackles, but I like what Ty Gower kind of talks about how that's kind of not what everybody does, right? It's usually people only do that against 4-eye teams, and so you're always in a 4-eye, right? Especially you're a tight front guy, that's what you do all the time. You don't always do that tackle fold stuff, so that kind of gets a little hairy. But I would stay more in the zone world with double tight end. Kind of talked about it, inside or outside zone. I think the only thing that kind of hinders you with that is the perimeter when you get the quarterback out and read it. Who has your overhang safeties, and then making sure that your offensive line can ID, second and third level defenders, right? Because you have one linebacker in the box, which most people would be like, hey, that's great. One linebacker in the box, you have a 5-man front, we're going to kind of roll. But when you have this 3 safety look, these outside, safeties, they're run guys as well. They'll come down the box and they're there on your face now, and it's tough kind of to account for those guys. So you gotta have a game plan for that. And so what we would normally do, right, is we would probably we would fan, right, the play side tackle, play side guard for your 4-eye and your overhang, and have the tight end kind of be what I call a free agent, right? Or we can wrap him. And then we would kind of zone it off in the backside. So fan out, zone the backside guard in the center through the head up nose to the mic, and then we're working these backside for the end, and whoever's in this pseudo B gap, right? B gap, C gap kind of window. And we would actually fold the Y back inside. It's not traditional, right? You could call it, basically it would become ISO at that point, or become inside zone lead for some people. But he has to know he's folding, he's not pulling. My terminology, folding, you're kind of looking back outside, whereas pulling, you would be looking more inside. So, they would fan out, he'd pull and wrap inside, probably looking for the free safety. So you can play with that, but hey, do you just have a better release going outside, get the free safety, or should we fold you inside for that guy and then zone it off on the backside? And it's reading the Viper, and then your quarterback and the strong safety are now one-on-one if he goes outside gap at that point.
Yeah, and again, like for us, we're gonna tell that Jack and that Viper that they have to. We're gonna lock those guys up, man.
Yeah.
Because again, it puts less. I mean, in hindsight, right? Like it puts less stress on our two safeties. Off the outside, because if they're playing invert, they're gonna come down and play that. The flat with the 2 corners are gonna go in the halves, but yeah, like I said, like I worry about me personally, like if you were to like read the 4-eye on an option game, if you're gonna run speed op now to this Viper side, if you're gonna reach an arc, now you're Age is arcing up to my strong safety, and I'm hoping that Mike or that Rover can come down and help. But like if you get the ball on the perimeter, like right now they're in a trail position anyway, and with the guys you have that are back from the track team, who you were happy to get last week. It would be good. It'd be good, matchup to see them run. And like I said, I always like talking about this formation because this is something that I really need to kind of over prepare for, just because it presents so many problems. But philosophically, for me, from the pressure standpoint, because you get a balance. It's like facing the flex bone, right? You get a balance front. It's like, okay, well, they can do both things to both sides. And now, if you to put that T in the pistol, right now we're even getting into that kind of flex bone-ish world. I guess my question for you is, other than the run game, like what do you like throwing the ball out of this?
Yeah, so if these the Viper and the Jack are up in their face, obviously it's gonna be very hard to get them off the line of scrimmage, right? Unless you're just tougher or whatever. But any of your 2-man concepts, so if you like these guys on shorter things, they can run stick routes, they can run out routes, right? You can have your outside guys run fades or slants or wherever you like. But for me, especially with bigger bodies, I'm just going to try and run stick, have these guys hitch up, kind of be the big body guy in there, right? And then we're going to shoot this guy to the flat, right? And then play off of the next guy. Okay. So who's got the back, right? At that point. So is it the strong safety? Right. So then you're kind of playing off the strong safety coming over top. Can you get the ball out to him fast? All those type of things. If he's manned up here, he'll be here, and we're having to run into space, and we're kind of one-on-one. That's kind of what I would imagine. What coverages are you playing, Coach, especially something like this?
So if we're gonna play the man technique with the Viper and the Jack, we'll play like 2 invert. So the free and the strong will come down, be the flat defenders, the corners are gonna bail.
Yeah.
And then the other option, honestly, because again, you only have so many options when you're in a balanced formation. So the only other option would be to basically exchange roles with the safeties and the Jack and the Viper, to have the Jack and the Viper push to the flat with the safeties now coming down. So those are really our two options for us as of right now.
I got you. Yeah, I think you are a little limited based off of personnel when you have 2 tight ends. Like as nobody has a Travis Kelce, you can just take him right down the seam for the most part. So you kind of get limited. But if obviously this is a run formation, especially for me first, and then we're trying to just get possession type stuff, right? It's a second and short. Try it. Let's say we don't want to go back-to-back runs. Hey, let's try to get the quarterback, throw it a little bit, or maybe we do more of a sprint out deal, get the H to the flat, bring the other one across, kind of drag him across, kind of have this guy trail him, right? If he can beat him off the line or anything like that. So you can kind of see if you can kind of run away from him like that.
All right. So I know we want to keep this a little shorter, but I got to ask this question, because this is another formation that gives me nightmares. Is if you were to take that X and motion them over, we got nub to the Y.
Yeah.
Right. So now it's like we have to rotate, right? And now you have, safety's got to come down.
Yeah.
We're going to bump the Rover over, bump the free safety over. Now that corner's playing like 2x7 off the Y. Okay. So like now in this picture, for you as a play caller, what do you like out of this picture?
Honestly, I like if you're gonna roll like that.
Yeah.
If we started out like this, right? I would bring some type of a jet going back the other way. I'd bring them right back.
Okay.
I would do that outside zone. Have the back obviously on this side.
Yep.
I would get into counter game at that point, right? Okay, let's arc the Y out to the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's work this 4-eye down. Let's double the nose of the mic vertical, kick the overhang, right? Pull the backside, and we'll read off the end right here as well, and try to let the corner make tackles, right? Even though we're arcing to him, let's still make him make tackles because he's going to arc. Arcing is alley back or safety. So whoever's in the alley, if it's a corner, cool. If not, then he's looking back into the box for a backer or anybody in the second level coming over top, and then we're trying to get outside. So little perimeter. Right inside of this jack. So, and then at that point, who you spilling it to? If you're a spill team, if you're a box team, let's try to hit up the hash right here. So,
yeah, if you went to this formation and then shifted the back pre-snap to the Y and ran speed out, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And then also too, are you a big out of this? Like if you were to shift the T over to the side of the Y, would you be a big rail? Like a wheel,
sitting up sideline. Yeah, so you can get into like some mesh game, right? You can kind of mesh the tight ends, and then shoot the running back up the sideline. Depending on how obviously you're playing this zone deep right here.
Yeah. It just presents so many problems for us, and like I said, we have to be. That was one of the things, like with the study in the off season, with the Indiana, Oregon, Texas Tech study, like it's simulated stuff for me against this because, like, I think it's a disadvantage for us to just sit in something.
Yeah.
Because for you, it's like you're like, okay, because your trench mob guys have definitive rules for, hey, there's 0, there's a 4-eye, there's this, that, the other thing, and that's kind of where we need to be a little bit more creative on our end to put our guys in a situation where we're going to stem. We're going to simulate maybe 7 or 6 up, and then post snap. But yeah, man. Like I said, I'm glad that we decided to talk about this because this just gives me odds in that, to use a Jersey term. Little bit of heartburn, going in. But Coach, listen, man, this has been great. Finishing up on a Friday morning, episode 8, and hoping you get down to Florida so we can meet up and. Obviously wishing you the best in the off season and best of Mrs. Coach Tatum. She's an all-star. And obviously happy to be part of the Coach Speed network with you. And, really appreciate taking the time out to do this, bro.
Yeah, man, same. I appreciate you a lot. Best of luck for you with a new program and getting those guys going and established and setting the kind of the culture for the summer and getting ready. And then, same with your family, Coach. Can't wait to actually meet your family one day and get together and make it happen.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, man.
Coach is